it's always not easy to get a very well-represented experts and professionals in their own field to unpack such a theme. What is this sustainability, right? What does this sustainability look like for small, medium, and enterprises, and by extension as well, social enterprises? What is this sustainability?
Sorry, I have a technical issue. So yeah, sustainability is for both large or small or for institutions or companies or even social enterprises is the ability of or these businesses being able to run their operations in such a way that they're able to meet their needs today without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. And so it speaks to things like the environmental, social, as well as economic and governance-related issues. But what we've seen from a banker's point of view is that there is this feeling by SMEs generally that a lot of the SMEs that this is something that is supposed to be done by either NGOs or large enterprises. But all of us who live on this globe obviously do have a responsibility to make sure that we sustain this earth in such a way that it meets the needs, we are able to meet the needs of our needs today and the needs of future generations.
Well done. I like the connection between not just sustainability, but also to climate resilience as we talk, right? Daktari, do you want to give a few thoughts on that as well? And more so, look at maybe what is the future of this sustainability, right? I like is introduced that this does not only belong to large corporations. We need to unpack that, what it means for social enterprises as well as SMEs, right? Small, medium, and enterprises, so that it's not just for only large corporates or large organizations. Could you just take it up?
Thank you very much, Daktari. I think my first panelist has picked it so well. And when you're talking about sustainability, basically we are talking about the efficient utilization of scarce resources to meet the current human needs without necessarily compromising the ability of the future generations to eke a living from them. And when you're talking about issues of sustainability, it is very critical that we have in mind three key pillars. The first pillar being the people. Obviously, your efforts should be geared towards meeting the needs of the people. Whereas, at the same time, we must also be cognizant of the fact that if an organization is to be sustainable, then it has to be profitable. So there is the issue of the people, the profits, and finally, if we are to derive these resources or these profits in a sustainable way, then there is the need to look at the third P, which is the planet. And of course, when you're talking about the planet, we are talking about the environment, we are talking about taking care of our God-given heritage. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Daktari. Let's have Mary.
So I want to start with the last question where you asked about the future, what we see in the next 5 to 10 years, and linking it back to sustainability. So one of the things that I have seen, especially in my work, in my current work, I see consumers becoming more intentional on choosing products that are also meeting the environmental, social governance areas. So they want to figure out whether the company they're buying from is conscious about the environment. So as suppliers come to this country, and there are lots of them that come to this country to source for products, and this can be textile and apparel, they can be ag-related products, or in technology. One of the things that I see them keenly looking at is whether the businesses that they're looking to work with are looking at the environmental components. So sustainability then becomes a key component, just to come back to the sustainability element. It becomes a key component for businesses to think through, for them to ride through the tides that we see of the current economic waves, because businesses that are more sustainable can be able to get a little more orders than those that are not. So whether we're talking about solarization, or whether we're talking about them having an effluent treatment plant, or whether they're looking at how they source in terms of sourcing from their smallholder farmers, how they're thinking about shipping their commodities. Maybe one last point before I give it to my counterpart. If I can look at the horticulture sector, which roughly exports about $1 billion every single year. One of the things that the EU has said is that the commodities, 50% of those commodities will now be shipped via sea. So to bring it closer home, what does that mean for our entrepreneurs as well as our smallholder farmers? Is that if we don't think about our global sourcing technologies, and we don't think about our markets and how we're going to meet those requirements, then what it means is that some of our smallholder farmers as well as businesses would be locked out because of the sustainability issue. So it brings it closer home for it to be more urgent and for us to make more radical choices and to think about sustainability, not as doing less harm, but as doing more good.
Right, good for those remarks. I like the fact that you've unpacked the people that Dr. Isaac started with. So the customers in these aspects are also very keen and looking at where they're getting their goods, and this is becoming more aware in terms of how businesses are affecting the climate, and of course want to contribute to that.
Thank you very much. I could not agree more with my fellow panelists in terms of the importance of sustainable business models for SMEs. In the last decade, individual awareness of the impact generated by activities of business has increased more than ever. And that is just what my colleague has alluded to. Consumers, employees, and investors have begun to criticize businesses' behavior that negatively affect either society or the environment. And in there lies opportunities for SMEs in terms of coming up with innovation that can be able to provide solutions to some of the challenges that current businesses are facing.
All right, brilliant. Thank you so much for those remarks. Now, just to take a step and backwards for sharing this, how SMEs, right? Sustainability can be looked into that. So my next question is, since the conversation is if we don't innovate around the issues of people, profit, traditionally that has been the focus. We want to make a profit, we want to satisfy our customers, right? But now the planet is becoming a center stage. How do SMEs, okay, and by extension, social enterprises as well, integrate this into their business model, right? So that's the question. How do you link that sustainability to a business model? This time, Mary, I see you're thinking too much. You're way to the answer. Could you just take the mic? And what you said, since consumers, yes, they're looking into this, how do then business come back and say, we want to be more sustainable, to be able to serve the customers, or to integrate our supply chains with what is happening globally as well, so that we're not locked out in this conversation or business trade as it is?
Sure. So I can share briefly, and I'm sure my colleagues as well will have a lot more information and can chime in. Maybe sharing from my personal experience as well as from interactions with businesses in Kenya and East Africa, which we support and are part of our portfolio. In some of the programs that we do, our current one that I currently manage is the Africa Trade and Investment Program, where we are forward-leaning in directly partnering with businesses. And you asked a key question: how do businesses plug in? Maybe just to step back a little bit and just give a little bit of data, that mostly 90% of the businesses globally are small and medium enterprises. And these create about 2 to 3 jobs, meaning that they have a key role, especially in the global value chains. And that said, I would say that as a business, you would start from where you are. And you'd have to, of course, carry out some analysis on how you're doing in terms of your sustainability components. But what I would say is basic things, such as, for example, maybe just using my agriculture portfolio, it's looking at how do you efficiently source commodities. Are you thinking about maybe using fossil fuels? Are you using electric vehicles? And maybe one of the things, if I'm to talk a little bit from an SME perspective, most businesses actually think that this is an expensive affair and that you don't really need to look into it. I would say it's not, because what it does provide, it derives a lot of benefit in terms of cost reduction. If we talk about things such as just figure out how much is solarization going to cost you? What models are existing out there that you don't have to even pay up front? Can you pay as you go? I would say that the most successful businesses that I have seen are those that keep learning and that keep innovating and that start from where they are and make small changes. And these, I would say, are incremental changes. It's not a 100-meter race. It's a marathon. So we talk about our sourcing mechanism. We talk about our processes. We talk about our energy efficiency. We talk about the equipment that we source and what types, in terms of levels of energy that you use. So I'll stop there because I want to give my colleagues a chance, but all that to say is that you can start from where you are and you make incremental changes. That's where I'll stop.
All right, James, before we come to you, you represent majority of these small and medium enterprises, okay? And you hear the challenge is for them to innovate or die, okay? So if they don't innovate, then they're more likely not to exist in the next couple of years we're going to talk about, right? This is a challenge to you. What are you setting in place in terms of enabling them to come up with sustainable business models? Where you sit, because you play a very role in terms of the link between SMEs and the government, the policy, all this. What is it that you're envisioning, and what is it that you're developing in your space to support them to come up with these sustainable business models?
Thank you very much for that. As the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we are currently partnering with various stakeholders to sensitize the small and micro enterprises across the country about two business models that can lead to sustainability of their businesses. The first one is the circular economy, which is a model of production and consumption, which involves sharing, leasing, reusing, repairing, and refurbishing existing materials and products as long as possible. Because we reckon that the SMEs in this particular space need to collaborate and share ideas in terms of the products that they're developing, and they can be able to offtake from each other in terms of products and materials, building a sustainable model in such a way that they can be able to share and co-produce products that are environmental friendly, for example, or get into a space of recycling products from larger corporates and come up with products that can be able to be sold at local markets. The second model that we are promoting as the Chamber of Commerce and Industry is eco-innovation, which is a new business approach which promotes sustainability through the entire life cycle of a product. And this is where you hear conversation around eco-manufacturing, which also boosts a company performance and competitiveness. And it allows them, the SMEs, to access global markets at premier prices, especially for products that consumers perceive to be produced in an environmental friendly way. So that is what the Chamber is currently embarking on. It's a huge undertaking, and we hope that we will get support from like-minded partners as well.
All right, thank you. Thank you for those remarks and thoughts. Is it possible to unpack a little bit, because it's creating an interest here, and maybe in the simplest way possible to be able to understand what you talk about eco-innovation?
Eco-innovation is an approach where a small and micro enterprises develops a product that is environmental friendly, yet meets the criteria of a modern innovation. I'll give you an example. people that are currently producing, let's say, bottled water, they require a lot of power in terms of packaging and the machinery they use. So you'll find probably a creative SME coming up with a solution to ensure that they reduce the cost of power and develop a machine or an equipment that uses solar, for example, or wind energy. This is an innovation that will probably reduce the cost of doing that particular business while offering a solution to the community in terms of potable water.
All right, good. Thank you so much for that elaborate, I think, description of the model. And with that picture, okay, I'll come to Dr. Gachanja. And I see your experience cuts across different industries, okay? Beauty, hospitality, education, manufacturing, renewable energy. And for me, the question is still the same on business models. How is that translated across the industry? Is it something that is applicable to various industries, or is it something that is just only specifically for renewable energy, for instance, as we speak, all right? How is this applicable to beauty industry? How is it applicable to hospitality, sustainability, and business models as well?
Thank you. I think when it comes to issues of sustainability, it's an issue that cuts across different sectors. And businesses, I think, going forward, have no option rather than to tackle this challenge of sustainability head on, because if firms, if organizations, if SMEs are looking at the long-term view, they need to ask themselves, what is it that they are supposed to be doing at the moment that will ensure their continuity in the future? And this continuity lies in, first and foremost, getting or being cautious of what is happening today, what challenges different sectors are facing in the society today, and maybe how well can each of the sectors, pull up their resources and have a focused attention to something that, of course, will address the challenges that these SMEs are facing. So, to me, issue of sustainability is across board. It cuts across. It's not private or of a few sectors. It cuts across. And it also requires concerted effort. And that is why today we are talking about issues of developing ecosystems, whereby we have actually collaboration between different sectors coming together and tackling in the issues therein. So it is cross-cutting.
All right, thank you. So it's an assurance that this is an issue that is affecting every industry sector, as well as I like the fact that you've said it is a collaborative effort to address these issues of climate change and also bring sustainability across these sectors. Something was mentioned in the discussion and alluded to the fact that you need to invest, okay, to become sustainable. You need some money. And one of the things we've seen over and over is that a lot of small, medium enterprises fail to access or don't have access to financing, especially in changing or transforming these business models. So my question is to Mr. Kibara, you are the finance guru here, right? What is the cost, okay, of being sustainable or building a sustainable business model? And of course, I want you to start this conversation, the cost, and then probably the next question I ask is, where is the money going to come from, okay? From a business perspective. Let's look internally before we go externally. I know the fact that always you want to go externally to look for the money. How can we build that, integrate that within the business model, the internal business, to access this money that might be needed?
Okay, thank you. The best way of looking at that first is to say, what is the cost of not doing it? That's probably a better approach. But how we've chosen to look at it from a HF Group perspective is from an opportunity perspective. Because if you can see an opportunity in something, then you will be much more motivated to do it than when you are just looking at it as a problem. And it is possible, and I want to repeat this, it is possible to do well by doing good. And what we've seen is that these sustainability initiatives actually drive profit. They drive companies to do better. And so when you see it that way, you look at it as more of an investment as opposed to a cost. And that's how we have done it. I'll give you a couple of examples, and then I'll talk about the money part. Now, so our building we have a building at the junction of Kenyatta Avenue and Koinange Street. It's called Hererehani House. That building, if you go to the top, the roof, it is all full of solar panels that we put there. So we are able to power the building, except just the lift. We're able to power the building using solar. Now, somebody would look at that as a cost, but I can tell you, and you've seen how much power costs have gone up recently. So we are not in that problem ourselves, because we have saved significant cost from just using the God-given sun to power our computers and everything else that we see. So if you look at it as an opportunity, you then can begin to make the steps that are required to move forward. Now, it's a catch-22. Let me come to the money. It's a catch-22. First of all, there is a lot of funding relating to climate resilience, both for enterprises that are looking to mitigate the impact of climate change, but also the ones that are looking to adapt to themselves to that. So there's a lot of funding available. But how the world works, it works on that you have to pay to start first before somebody can come in and back you up. And so what I've seen businesses do that have been successful is you just start somewhere. Don't get how do you say it? Don't get challenged or don't get overwhelmed by the words and all that. Just start somewhere. And when you start somewhere, let me give you an example. For instance, say you are running a school. A school has a lot of wastewater. How do you then recycle that water and reuse it for watering the plants? You have done your part. If you are running a hospital, what is the impact of a hospital on the local environment? And how can you make a case for reuse of what you have in the hospital? Now, so there is funding available. There is funding available in organizations, and I've seen people who have been able to source significant amounts of money to fund their enterprises. But it comes after you have already demonstrated that you have started, you've moved your way towards sustainability. But also, sustainability has to do with creating efficiency. It's not even just a cost issue. It could be just a reduction of waste. Reduction of waste does not cost. You can actually decide that I'm going to reduce this waste that I was using, even just recycling of paper, recycling of paper. You have saved some trees. And it costs nothing to do that. So there's a view that it just has to cost. Even just looking at your own internal processes. What processes are wasteful? What trips are unnecessary? Even just that way, you are still playing your role in sustainability. If you are doing distribution, for instance, just rerouting vehicles alone and reducing the emissions does cut your fuel costs, and as a result of that, you are a more sustainable company. So it doesn't mean that you must spend money. But if you need to spend money, I can tell you from our own experience that the resultant savings are well worth it. Yeah, that's what I can say.
All right, thank you so much. I think well elaborated in terms of, because people get scared when it comes to sustainability because they think it's going to cost us money. Where are we going to get that money? Are there any examples, experiences you've had for the rest of the panel on this issue? If you can take it, Mary, do you?
I'm sure. So there are a few businesses that we have partnered with. As I mentioned, USAID has been forward-leaning in developing relationships and supporting and co-investing with private sector in activities that are derived to increase development outcomes, as well as create jobs for women and youth. Some of the examples that I can give are, for example, a firm or several firms that I know in macadamia. And from what I have been told is that this is the tree that saves other trees. And why it's the tree that saves other trees, you can use the husk as for the businesses, they use that as compost. And then once they remove the shell, they actually sell that back, use some of it in their own boilers for drying and reducing the moisture content of macadamia up to a particular percentage. And they have so much left over that this is actually, the shells are actually bought by EABL for them to use in their boilers in the spirit of circularity, reduce the cost of energy. Another example that I can give is avocado. So most of the farms, and Dr. Njeng, I think, is a chair to one of the farms, they extract either crude oil or virgin avocado oil, and so there's a lot of waste that's left over, but that still has some oil. And this can be converted into briquettes. Otherwise, this would just be waste. It can be converted into briquettes and still used in the boiler. But additionally, what it can also be used as, especially some of the waste that comes from avocado, is that now there's some research that's going on to see how this can be used as fertilizer and given back to the farmers instead of purchasing additional fertilizer, but this can be an organic waste as well. There's others that I can give. An example is, use of organic fertilizer, where we're partnering with a farm that recycles waste from markets as well to generate organic fertilizer and to sell this to farmers. In the textile and apparel space, solarization has been one of the areas we've partnered with businesses to solarize, because these businesses use quite a bit of energy in producing textile and apparel, examples being some of the ones located at our EPZ, as well as the water treatment. I can go on and on. There's a long list of things that we look at, but we're not short of ideas, is what I'm saying, is that you can start with where you are, and you can innovate as you go along. And it's good to hear even from the comments that the banker has even shared, that you have to look at your internal processes and then see how do you move forward. Are you using inefficient equipment? Are you having more people on the floor than you actually need? How do you deploy them in other areas? So you would see in the textile and apparel space, some of them either are looking at the effluent treatment plant. They're also looking at the waste in terms of what remains after you do the cutting, the trimming. How do you recycle this into fiber and then for it to be reused back? There's also some partnerships we have in the environment space, and after this I will stop, I promise you, where we are recycling plastic, and this is being recycled into pellets. And then after that, it is being exported to farms that are looking to reuse this plastic rather than it going into the ocean. But it has even advanced a little further. Right here in Kenya, we have farms that are now converting and looking at converting that into resin. And larger bottlers, such as Coca-Cola, are looking at ways of buying that back and using that as a bottle. There are others in the dairy sector that are also using the plastic, recycling it back and packaging the yogurt, and it comes back to our consumers. So we're not short of ideas of things that we can do in this space. I would say as an entrepreneur, or if you're in that space, look at the product you have, do some backward integration and see where you can innovate and where we can incorporate or integrate sustainability into our processes.
All right, good. Thank you so much for those many examples. We are thirsting for more. If you have them, please give us. Yeah, so those actually tell us this is going to happen and it's happening. Any other thoughts, examples, Dr. Ari?
Thank you. Maybe the other thing that is really very exciting at the moment is that we all know that when it comes to usage of energy, just like my friend had said here, is that most of our farms are using a lot of energy. And if we may look at the mobility sector, for example, we've been using a lot of, fuel, petrol, diesel in propelling those machines in the industries. We are using them quite often, which is, of course, bringing or increasing or escalating the cost of production. And one way of doing it is through the use of solar energy. And in the recent past, we've seen a lot of concerted efforts in bringing about clean energy in the mobility sector. I think that is reducing the cost of propelling engines by more than 70%. And these are some of the innovations that once they are taken seriously, and there are concerted efforts in these areas, then we can dramatically reduce the cost of mobility.
All right, thank you so much. Has anyone here used an electric vehicle, bus, gas? Can I see by a show of hands? Let's see those who are supporting sustainability, mobility. I see the nodes, but yeah, okay, fantastic, good. So I see a lot of us as also becoming aware and taking that charge. I think, was it yesterday I saw that Metrobus is going to bring electric buses again with what is happening. So we see this trends and innovation happening. So it's not that we are fallen short. We have so many ideas, innovative. So before I ask the next question, let me open up this to the congregation as well. I see you're taking this information, taking this knowledge, but I know there at the back of your minds there's some questions. How do you go about this? Maybe we can get 1 or 2 or 3 questions from the audience, right? There's 2 hands, keep them up, 3 hands, okay? 4. Let's take those 4 questions, I think, and then we can come back to the panel. Please, if you have something, just note a question. If you want to ask to a specific panel as well, feel free. There is anyone with a microphone in the audience?
Let's make the question short and clear, so we'll start from here.
Yes. Yeah. Just straight to the question, please. Straight to the question. Keep it at least 1. I know we might have so many, but just 1, so that we are able to address them with the time that we have.
Okay. My name is James Ngamai, and I just had one specific question that maybe you could address. And one of the key things that I've realized about sustainability, it's more about knowledge acquisition for SMEs. Because without knowledge, they cannot be able to even develop sustainable business models. They cannot be able to look at them from a point of understanding of what areas they need to address. So some of these areas where they could maybe access knowledge, some of them they're not even aware of the kind of programs that exist, or probably some of the programs are out of reach for them. So how can we make this a trend that is a common trend for SMEs to be able to acquire knowledge and seek knowledge towards sustainability?
All right, thank you so much, James, for that question.
My name is Elizabeth Washira. I'm an environmentalist certified by NEMA. My question goes to Mr. Kibara. You told us that Rehani House, the rooftop is full of solar panels. My question is, how long did it take for you to recover that cost? Or in other words, what's your ROI? Thank you.
Good question to the finance expert.
Thank you very much. My name is John Murunga. I am a research consultant. I work with Geopol. My question is related to, the question around the M in this conference here. So I was first of all very curious to understand if the M is for micro or is for medium. We've done a lot of research work that shows that a lot of micro and small enterprises are having a lot more practical challenges, like cost of living, taxes, access to market, and the like. One of the things that we realize is that they don't even understand the whole concept around sustainability. Question to the panel is, how do we make sustainability and ESG conversations more practical to the micro and small enterprises in a way that is understandable and palatable to them for them to take up these initiatives, knowing that even large organizations like SFC, as an example, are struggling to even implement some of these ESG and sustainability measures. So how do we practicalize it to these micro and small enterprises? Thank you.
All right, very great question, Olunga, in terms of contextualization of what we're talking about, to make sense to the smallholder farmer, to the micro, to the small businesses, and medium in this situation. So one last one, and then we can address that. I hope this is not too many. You're noting them down? Okay, good. One last one from the back there, and then we can
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Victor Kwabe. I'm a journalist from Climate Lens News. And my question is about the sustainability. There's been a push for the agency to go sustainable for the SMEs, though there's this notion that the funders have where they think SMEs are quite risky. So what can we do to change this perception about the SMEs?
All right, good question again on the riskiness of SMEs and of course this context of sustainability. So I'll start from right here. You want, yeah, just kick it off. I think he needs to work out the calculation on the savings. So we'll come this way. You need to tell us that figure you saved and how did you recoup it. All right, good.
Thank you very much for those questions. As a Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we've made a deliberate effort in terms of ensuring that we integrate sustainability into the programs that we are rolling out in all the 47 counties in partnership with the Council of Governors and other partners. And as we train small and micro enterprises on business development services, we make sure that we bring in the subject of sustainability in terms of ensuring that they carry out their business in a more sustainable way. And I think this is a conversation that has to be driven not only by the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, by all of us, because at the end of the day, it will have an impact to the environment and to what we do.
All right, thank you. Remember the question is knowledge acquisition. I think it's coming out very clear. Yeah, so how do you make sure that this SMEs, of course, get to know or understand what sustainability is? Mary, do you want to tell us which ones you're addressing and then...
Sure. Let's start with the knowledge acquisition one. I think one of the things that I would have to say is that as you run your enterprise, maybe first I would pass the baton back to the entrepreneur and the team that he's also working with. They say there is no end to learning. I think the place where we learn no more is at the grave when we say bye to this world and we're no longer then learning. So I would say the first person I would ask that they push themselves a little more, and it's based on maybe the experiences we have seen with the entrepreneurs that we have engaged in, is that most of them are also seeking knowledge. And by you seeking knowledge, I think one of the lessons I had as a small entrepreneur is that you sometimes tend to huddle with your pack. And sometimes these people don't necessarily help you. So I would say you have to push yourself to develop strategic partnerships towards developing relationships with people who will give you that information. And sometimes it's honestly not going to be in your circle. You're going to have to push yourself a little more and seek that knowledge. So that's the first thing that I would say. Otherwise, there are many other opportunities in terms of you getting additional information and knowledge. Whether it's seeking that through ongoing programs that are currently running or speaking to experts in that area and seeking them out, I would say is where I would start if I was an entrepreneur and if I was speaking to myself maybe about 10 years ago. Maybe the other one about the practical challenges that the gentleman alluded to, and then I'll pass over the microphone to my colleagues as well. We understand, and this is also maybe not going to sound maybe like what you expected, but I feel like with every new regime, with every new change, the one thing that is constant is that there's change. So the first thing I will say as an entrepreneur, or if you're running a business, is that you'd have to build a little more thicker skin to ride the tide. Because businesses that are built to last will ride through that tide. However, when it comes to the practicality of the challenges that you face, I would say compartmentalization is one of the best things that you can do as an entrepreneur. And when you compartmentalize and know this is going on and you're faced with a myriad of challenges, but I would say also keeping your eyes on the prize, on the things that you're looking to fix, and just being conscious when the cog turns a degree at a time, you know that you're making incremental changes. Otherwise, what ends up happening is that you get overwhelmed and you don't focus on the goal, and then you don't achieve what you set out to do. But maybe also to say that there are blended solutions in terms of finance as well, from development partners like USAID and others, where you can seek out solutions depending on the social enterprise that you're running, whether it's grants. I know this is usually a competitive process, so putting your best foot forward, as well as patient capital and allowing people to come in and invest in part of the business. That's also something that I've seen that has worked for businesses that are looking for social impact funds as well. And then leveraging this also with what is currently available in the market and getting your working capital also from there. So I'd say those are my few points, and I want to pass it on to my colleagues.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Isaac.
Thank you very much. The other way in which we can enhance knowledge within the SME is actually what we are doing today. We are actually sensitizing the SMEs on the need of sustainability. We are actually creating awareness, and I think this is one of the ways in which we can ensure that this information transcends to all the SMEs. So in this sensitization and awareness creation, there is need to ensure that our SMEs are more, are looking at the long-term goal. They are looking at the future. They are more futuristic, rather than just, meeting the needs for today, rather than just being necessity entrepreneurs. There is need to go an extra mile and find out what impact can this SME make to the society in terms of making sure that you are responsive to the challenges that are facing the society.
All right, and two questions. One specifically for you.
Yes.
And then the other one I wanted you to also look at is the one on this aspect or assumption that SMEs are risky, okay? In terms of an investment perspective, and how do we drive, this came from Victor, the last question, in terms of enabling these SMEs to de-risk and also become more sustainable?
Okay, thank you. So I will try to make it as simple as I can, because one of the things that we must do is to just bring down this whole sustainability thing to very understandable, easy things. People understand easier things than complex things. And so I'll start with what James was asking about knowledge. Let me just share something. So, especially for people who are here in this conference, I just want to say that there is a lot of information online regarding this whole sustainability area. There are even, if you go to Coursera, for instance, there are free courses that you can take and learn as much as you can regarding sustainability. It doesn't have to be expensive, but also going out to see what other people are doing. For instance, we had a climate conference the other day. I don't know how many people went there. We have, of course, this conference, and I'm happy that all of us are here. What we are doing ourselves as HFC, as a group, is that we work with various parties. For instance, we have signed a collaboration, a partnership with Strathmore University, and we are part sponsors of this program, so that then we can talk to people about sustainability. That's one of the ways that we are doing that, and just playing our part in just passing the information. We have partnered with, for instance, the Juakali Federation to just put them together and train them around sustainability, so that then we do our part. But also individuals have to play their part, and one of the ways to do it is to seek knowledge. But here's the benefit of it. Once you know, the information, the age we are living in now it works like this. What you know equals what you have. So the more you know about these topics, the more people you get to meet and know and network with, the better you can become, and the more you can be able to unlock even funding relating to this. So the fact that you are here is a very good start, but there is a lot of information that is available for free, actually, by many organizations, and it's available all over online. And that was James. Elizabeth Wachira asked about how long it took us to recover the money. Actually, immediately. Let me explain. So we got this company coming to us and telling us that, look, HF, we are going to put solar panels on your building. We are going to put a meter, an electric meter, an electricity meter, and you'll be paying the same way as we paid Kenya Power. If we find ours is more expensive, you can use Kenya Power. If you find ours is cheaper, then you can use ours. And because we had nothing to lose, we said, go ahead. And something we were deliberately looking for. And when the whole system was put, at that time, we had a saving of over 30% on the monthly bill immediately. And we pay a lot of money, obviously powering a whole building that has a whole data center there. Then power cost started going up, and this one is not going up. And so over time, the savings have opened up. So we actually got savings immediately, and we did our part in saving the planet. So Elizabeth, I hope that helps. Then Olunga asked about that people don't understand sustainability, and also Victor actually talked about farms, large farms not, large farms are struggling, and Victor Olunga is on to say large farms are this sustainability issue. Where does that leave small farms? But let me also say this: actually, small farms, when it comes to sustainability, do a better job, a much better job. If you go to Githurai 45 roundabout in the evening, you will see these big lamps that people use to light up the place in the evening. It's well lit. Most of those are actually solar lamps. And let me ask a question: who are the biggest polluters? If you go around the industry area, and if you go around where the SMEs work, who is the bigger polluter? It's the big guys. So in fact, because of economic pressure that hits the SMEs earlier than it hits the big farms, the SMEs are forced to survive, to become more efficient, to become more sustainable, so they don't waste. For instance, who uses matatus? Is actually the small business owners. And by pulling people together in one car, than the ones you see people driving in one car per person, these people are actually playing their role in saving. So I don't like to say that SMEs are less sustainable than the bigger ones. What SMEs need to do is, number one, to see how then they can get support by now being a lot more organized and structured around the way they do it, number one, but also organizing and pulling together, like for instance, the way we have said Yuakali Federation. So we have signed up a partnership with them where we are giving them we have made available 4 billion shillings for them to be able to do their work and in a sustainable way. But if it was one guy coming to us, it would have been much harder. And that goes to Victor's question about people thinking SMEs are risky. They actually are not. It's just that they are not organized. Governance structures are wanting, and organizations like us are playing our part in just bringing them together, making them organized, training them in forums like this, so that then you become better, more sustainable companies. And even if you're already sustainable, how can you show you are sustainable, so that then you can be able to unlock the benefits that come with that. That is the simplest way I can just explain that. So.
All right, thank you. I was waiting for the figure, though.
In terms of the actual savings?
Yes.
What's the number? So we normally spend about 3 to 4 million a month. If you do about 30% a month, is 30 to 40% a month, then you can do the math.
All right,
yeah.
Good.
In a single building. What about people who have got much bigger buildings or much bigger operations, and we are not a factory. We run computers. What about somebody who runs a factory that is using thousands of kilowatts of power per hour? Yeah, as we just run basic computers. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you for those responses. I'm just wondering whether I can just allow one question as I request the panelists to try and think about how you can close this with two things. What is the role of collaboration as you give sort of your last parting shot? Just collaboration. We are here. We're representing different industries, different sectors. How can we collaborate? As Mr. Kibara has emphasized, that coming together is one, cooperation. Then again, collaboration is very important in this. So as you organize your parting shot, advice to SMEs and by extension social enterprises as well in this sustainability journey in the current global climate change challenge that we have. What is the role of collaboration and what's the way forward for them to be able to practically change their business models going forward? Any one burning question? Yes, there's a gentleman there who was very fast. We'll allow you to see that question as I allow you to also reflect on the last closing remarks on that basis. Oh, I told you it was going to get hot. Okay, there we go. Okay, we are finishing. All right.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Kennedy Odweyo, and I have a question for the chamber. You're the GM for Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. One of the issues that faces these micro, small, and medium enterprises, you need to add an M before the S, because they are the majority, is that there's a gap in terms of skills and technology. And I say this from the basis of unto whom much is given, much is expected. You've managed to organize yourself into a conglomerate, what I would call, that has created more of an exclusionist club. Because if you look at your membership, we are talking about 110,000 to 1 million for membership to qualify for some of those benefits. So my question is, and I would like to gather the honesty of the honesty from the deepest of your heart. What meaningful collaborative initiatives have you put in place as the chamber to facilitate skills and technology transfer from the established members that can afford a 1 million shilling membership fee to these people who do not even know what the Chamber of Commerce is? Because the issue is you can train people, and the challenge you have is that we talk a lot. You put 100 people in a room, spend 1 million and then throw them in the bush to sort themselves out. At what point would you maybe, I would say, start matching the skills development to the skills funding so that you train people and then you put them in a space or in a position where they can utilize that space? Because it's not their fault to be there. They have a responsibility, but you also have one. To Mr. Robert, I speak from a banking perspective too. So my question would be, most of the banking facilities and opportunities that are there, they may appear that you mostly fund the collateral or the bank statements, not the ideas and the skills. And that's why you realize on most occasions, if you look at the balance sheets of banks, some of the non-performing loans have very good securities, very prime. So as banking institutions, at what point do you then get to a point where you're looking at these micro enterprises from their perspective, not from your policy perspective? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. First of all, I would like to start by giving you an overview of the structure of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry. The Chamber of Commerce and Industry is structured in such a way that we have the headquarters, which is domiciled in Nairobi. Then we have county offices, which are present in all the 47 counties. And each county comes up with a membership structure and fee, which they charge the membership at that particular level. So when you talk about 110,000 to 1 million shillings in terms of membership subscription, that is for companies that are already well established and are domiciled in Nairobi and probably the Nairobi metropolitan area that are engaged in, first of all, export of their products outside the country. And this does not target the small and micro enterprises, because the lowest fee we charge as a Chamber of Commerce and Industry for subscription is 200 shillings. And for 200 shillings annually, you're able then to get services that are related to what we offer as a Chamber of Commerce and Industry for small and micro enterprises, which are promotion platforms, exhibitions. You also get to learn through programs that we roll out throughout the country in partnerships with institutions that we work with. Like currently, we are working on a program with the MasterCard Foundation that is targeting small and micro enterprises across the country, and we're looking at 100,000 SMEs who will be trained on digital, on putting their businesses on a digital platform, after which they will also get some seed funding to boost the sustainability of their businesses. So those are the practical solutions that the Chamber of Commerce and Industry is working with partners to support small and micro enterprises at different levels to be able to be sustainable businesses. And my parting shot is that every day we learn and learn and learn again. Learning is a continuous process. So for us to be able to achieve the objectives of sustainability, we need to encourage even more established businesses to unlearn and learn new ways of doing business. Thank you.
So the question then Kennedy is asking is about the funding, especially for micro enterprises, because banking, he says, is normally organized around collateral. And how do these organizations get funded? First of all, I just want to be, and I'm going to be very straightforward today. How the banking sector is organized, in fact, the financial sector, not just the banks, because we have got other players, is organized around the different segments of the market on the business side. Let me explain. So you have micro enterprises, you have small businesses, you have medium enterprises, you have large, and you have what is called global corporates, which is the very large ones. Now, banks are organized around serving different sectors. For instance, us, as HFC, we are more suited to serving the small businesses, the medium businesses, and the large enterprises. So we have that capability to do that. But we do have organizations in the banking sector that serve micro segments very, very well. For instance, I'll just quote one. There is one called KWFT that does very, very well the micro segment. Now, when it comes to then how do these organizations work? So banks do have unsecured limits, because we lend depositors money. We have to have certain limits. So we lend unsecured limits. For instance, for us, for small businesses, we have an unsecured limit that goes up to, how much, Patrick? Up to 3 million unsecured without security. Okay? And then beyond that, then obviously we'll require some sort of combination of securities, because we think that if somebody is borrowing 5 million, they would have a car, for instance, that they can give to part secure that facility. So that's really just generally how it works. But for us to be able to lend many people together who don't have security, we also organize them. So for instance, we have this organization called Ngoka that does a very good job in the affordable housing segment. So they are artisans based on Gong Road, Kakoji, and Kariubangi. These guys you see along Gong Road, where you find very nice furniture. They do a fantastic job. We have worked with them for them to be able to secure opportunities in the affordable housing segment. So they have gotten 10 jobs to do. For instance, they got a 400 million tender, all of them together, to do doors and windows for these affordable houses. And we sat with them and we agreed that we are going to finance them and structure the transaction such that they didn't even need to give security. So everybody did their doors and delivered, their windows and delivered, and all together we were able to finance them and they were able to make their profit from that. So again, people organizing themselves does really help, so that then you can pool together and you're able to approach an organization and work with them. And so we have got many examples of SMEs that we have worked with and that we'll be able to lend to them without security, but by just organizing them, training them to just make sure that they are bankable. So there is need also for SMEs to try to do their part to make sure that they understand how financial institutions look at lending and organize themselves around that. I will talk about collaboration. Yes. Collaboration is absolutely important. There are very many players in this sustainability area, many players. We have financiers, we have people who are actively involved in things. Let me just give an example. So, we are a property development company, and we have made it our job to do sustainable projects. So we know that when you're doing a project, sometimes you have to remove trees. And so what we are doing now in the projects that we are doing, we collaborate with somebody who has a tree nursery. They come and set it up there, and for the trees that we will remove, we must plant many more trees to more than collaborate. You see now that's a collaboration. One guy is selling trees, and thus we want to make sure that we have a sustainable project. So there are financiers, there are people from all over the world. But the one thing I want to leave you with today is this, is networking. This area of sustainability works on networking, on getting to know who does what, who is involved in what, and building collaboration and networks with these people. I have a friend of mine who is running a parastatal that does feeding for schools in the ASAL regions. And he goes to a lot of events, and he's able to pull in a lot of money to support the work that he's actually doing. Because in the ASAL region, the northern Kenya, nomadic regions, they are particularly hit by climate change. And so he has found he's taken it upon himself to learn a lot about sustainability, to write proposals, to meet like-minded people who can support his organization to be able to do the work that it's doing in feeding nomadic children so that they can be kept in school when their parents go looking for pastures. So that network has enabled that company to do, that organization, it's a government institution, to do very, very well. So my point is, the biggest thing about this thing of sustainability is to network. Now you know a lot more information. Next time you look for other people like that, over time you become really good. And the more you know, the more you can be able to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I will summarize that as the best thing for you to know is know that you don't know what you don't know. Dr. Isaac?
Thank you. Maybe just to agree with my friend here, the concept of networking is very, very critical. But it is not just enough to do networking. Yeah? After you have networked, you need to build strategic alliances. Yeah? You need to know who is who in your space. Because sustainability is a holistic thing in itself. Yeah? So once you get network, choose your strategic partners and alliance wisely, create an ecosystem, and have a way of integrating the ecosystem with the national innovation system. And that way, we will drive the SME forward. Thank you.
All right, good, very good words. Mary, your parting shot, and you get to close for us, the panel.
Sure. As I close, one of the things that I want to leave you with, they say that a tree with strong roots laughs at storms. And for me, these strong roots, I want to count it as a fruit of the collaborations that you have. The truth is, you cannot sit, in your own silo and think that the knowledge will find you there. It won't. I cannot echo the sentiments that have already been said about networking and building strategic partnerships in your own life, as well as in your journey of running your business. So the one thing that I would also say is that this information that you gather, put it into good use. It's not enough to just gather the information, but actually then moving a step forward and actually looking at what is it that you're going to implement with the knowledge that you've acquired. Maybe as I close is to say that USAID has been keen on developing collaborations, and this is with the government, it's also with the private sector and the civil society. But coming back to the private sector collaboration, we know that through this, we can probably achieve faster development and catalyze growth and create more employment at a faster rate, especially if you're employing 2 out of 3 that are employed in this sector. So as you run your enterprise, if you have any questions, also keen to just know the opportunities that are available. You talk about businesses being risky, but are there solutions where you can access seed funding, grant funding as you develop your business further? So feel free to reach out in case you have such questions. We have some opportunities available, maybe through the DIV funds, especially if scalability is an issue. And DIV mostly talks about development innovation ventures. And if you're looking at scalability, those are areas you can look at. Another one is partnerships that we're developing to support women entrepreneurs to scale their businesses. So I will be available for just a few minutes, and I can share some of those opportunities with you, or we can also speak on email. So collaboration doesn't stop. It's a continuous job.
All right. Thank you so much for very insightful, I think, comments. What I'm getting, maybe if I can summarize this before I give it back to Nelson, is that do well by doing good. That's the first thing that we need to think about. How do we do good for the environment, for the people, and for the business in what we do? Efficiency is a key thing when it comes to sustainability. Start from within. I think that has been very much echoed. I see a line from circularity. You talk about circular economy. We've heard about eco model. I see Joseph as well, who's going to share some knowledge about what they do with KCIC. So around the same. The other one I've got is that change or perish. We're in the era if you don't change. You remember what happened to the brick and mortar businesses when the economic commerce came about? Those who refused to change, of course, they perished along the way. There's a lot of blended finance in terms of acquiring or money to change your business model. Seek help. Don't die alone. Okay? Seek help. That's very important. Knowledge is power. If you don't know what you don't know what you might be missing. Exactly. Right? So knowledge is power. And I think, Professor Kiraka, you'll give us a bit of what Strathmore is doing around climate resilience and the trainings that we have access to that SME can benefit from, maybe tomorrow in the morning as you share. So there's a lot that is happening around Strathmore as well as this, with partnership with such as the Housing Finance Group and others as well. Then, of course, internal solution first before you can go out. See what you can change within, especially for the business model. We have to build a core business that is built to weather the storms. Okay, so you must start from within before you can progress outside. What I'm finding out as well is cooperation is key. SMEs are not risky, it's only that they work alone. And operating in a silo also gives you, or you can very easily be attacked or face a lot of challenges. So come together with the rest and also get access to resources and financing. So organizing yourself is very important. Additionally, networking. Events like this one can trigger that. Some companies have accessed 400 million, not even giving collateral with doing a big project. Strategic partnership is key, and also integrating yourself with the national innovation ecosystem as we try to build this country, economy, create jobs, and also innovate. Thank you so much. Can we give a round of applause for this panel? Not very easy to get. And thank you so much. If you can stay around, I know there's so much conversations that can be picked, so feel free to share and also talk to the rest. Don't run away with the money.